Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 455th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel enumerated the mansions and distributed them into the signs, the astronomer said, Thou hast replied aright. Now, tell me of the planets and their natures, also of their sojourn in the zodiacal signs, their aspects, auspicians, and sinister, their houses, ascendants, and descendants. She answered, The sitting is narrow for so large a matter, but I will say as much as I can. Now, the planets number 7, which are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. The Sun, hot, dry, sinister in conjunction, favorable in opposition, abideth 30 days in each sign. The moon, cold, moist, and favorable of aspect, tarrieth in each sign 2 days, and a third of another day. Mercury is of a mixed nature, favorable in conjunction with the favorable, and sinister in conjunction with the sinister aspects, and abideth in each sign 17 days and a half day. Venus, temperate and favorable, abideth in each sign 25 days. Mars is sinister and wanteth in each sign 10 months. Jupiter is auspicious and abideth in each sign a year. Saturn, cold, dry, and sinister, tarrieth in each sign 30 months. The house of the Sun is Leo, her ascendant is Aries, and her descendant Aquarius. The moon's house is Cancer, his ascendant Taurus, his descendant Scorpio, and his sinister aspect Capricorn. Saturn's house is Capricorn Aquarius, his ascendant Libra, his ascendant Aries, and his sinister aspects Cancer and Leo. Jupiter's house is Pisces Sagittarius, his ascendant Cancer, his descendant Capricorn, and his sinister aspect Gemini and Leo. Venus's house is Taurus, her ascendant Pisces, her descendant Libra, and her sinister aspect Aries and Scorpio. Mercury's house is Gemini Virgo, his ascendant Virgo, his descendant Pisces, and his sinister aspect Taurus. Mars' house is Aries Scorpio, his ascendant Capricorn, his descendant Cancer, and his sinister aspect Libra. Now when the astronomer saw her acuteness and comprehension, learning, and heard her fair answers, he bethought him for a sleight to confound her before the commander of the faithful, and he said to her, O damsel, tell me, will rain fall this month? At this she bowed her head, and pondered so long, the commander of the faithful said to her, O damsel, tell me, will rain fall this month? At this she bowed her head, and she said, Caliph. And he asked her, Why dost thou not speak? And quoth she, I will not speak, except the commander of the faithful give me leave. So the Caliph laughed, and he said, How so? Cried she, I would have you give me a sword, that I may strike off his head, for he is an infidel, and an agnostic, and an atheist. At this loud laughed the Caliph, and those about him laughed, and she continued, O astronomer, there are 5 things that none knoweth save Allah Almighty. And she repeated the verset, Aye, Allah with him is the knowledge of the hour, and he causeth the rain to descend at his own appointed time. And he knoweth what is in the wombs of females, but no soul knoweth what it shall have gotten on the morrow, neither wotteth any soul in what land it shall die. Verily, Allah is knowing, informed of all. Quoth the astronomer, Thou hast said well, and I, by Allah, thought only to try thee. Rejoined she, Know that the almanac makers have certain signs and tokens referring to the planets and constellations relative to the coming of the year, and folk have learned something by experience. What be that? Each day hath a planet that ruleth it. So if the first day is in the year fall on the first day, Sunday, that day is the sun's, and this portuneth, though Allah alone is all-knowing. Oppression of kings and sultans and governors, and much miasma and lack of rain, and that people will be in great tumult, and grain crop will be good, except lentils, which will perish, and the vines will rot, and flax will be dear, and wheat cheap from the beginning of Tuba to the end of Barmot. And in this year there will be much fighting among kings, and there shall be great plenty of good in this year, but Allah is all-knowing. What is the first day fall on the second day, Monday? That day belongeth to the moon, and portendeth righteousness in administrators and officials, and that it will be a year of much rain, and grain crops will be good, but linseed will decay, and wheat will be cheap in the month of Kayak. Also, the plague will rage, and the sheep and goats will die. Grapes will be plentiful, and honey scarce, and cotton cheap. And Allah is omniscient. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 456th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel ended her notice of the second day, the astronomer said to her, Now, tell me what will occur if New Year's Day fall on the third day, Tuesday. She replied, That is Mars' day, and portendeth death of great men, and much destruction and deluge of blood, and dearness of grain, lack of rain, and scarcity of fish, which will anon be in excess, and anon fail. Lentils and honey in this year will be cheap, and linseed dear, and only barley will thrive, to the exception of all other cereals. Great will be fighting among kings, and death will be in the blood, and there will be much mortality among asses. What if it fall on the fourth day? That is Mercury's day, and portendeth great tumult among the folk, and much enmity, and though rains be moderate, rotting of some of the green crops, also that there will be sore mortality among cattle and young children, and much fighting by sea, and wheat will be dear from Bermuda to Misra, and other grains cheap. Thunder and lightning will abound, and honey will be dear. Palm trees will thrive and bear abundantly, and flax and cotton will be plentiful, while radishes and onions will be dear. But Allah is all-knowing. What if it fall on the fifth day? And that is Jupiter's day, and portendeth equity and wazirs, and righteousness, and qazis, and fakirs, and the ministers of religion, and that good will be plentiful, rains, and fruit, and trees, and grains will abound, and flax, cotton, honey, grapes, and fish will be cheap. And Allah is omniscient. Oh, what if it fall on meeting day or Friday? That day appertaineth to Venus, and portendeth oppression in the chiefs of the jinn, and talk of forgery and backbiting. There will be much dew. The autumn crops will be good in the land, and there will be cheapness in one town, but not in another. Ungraciousness will be rife by land and sea. Linseed will be dear, also wheat in Hatur, but cheap in Amshir. Honey will be dear, and grapes and watermelons will rot. And Allah is omniscient. What if it fall on Saturday, Sabbath? That is Saturn's day, and portuneth the preferment of slaves and Greeks, and those in whom there is no good, neither in their neighborhood. There will be great drought and dearth. Clouds will abound, and death will be rife among the sons of Adam, and woe to the people of Egypt and Syria from the oppression of the Sultan, and failure of blessings upon the green crops, and rotting of grain. And Allah is all-knowing. Now, with this, the astronomer hung his head very low, and she said to him, O astronomer, I will ask thee one question, which if thou answerest not, I will take thy clothes. Ask, replied he. Quoth she, Where is Saturn's dwelling place? And he answered, In the seventh heaven, and that of Jupiter in the sixth heaven, and that of Mars in the 5th heaven, and that of the sun in the 4th heaven, and that of Venus in the 3rd heaven, and that of Mercury in the 2nd heaven, and that of the moon in the 1st heaven. Quoth she, Well answered, but I have one more question to ask thee. And quoth he, Ask. Accordingly she said, Now tell me concerning the stars, into how many parts are they divided? But he was silent, and he answered nothing. And she cried to him, Put off thy clothes. So he doffed them, and she took them. After which the Caliph said to her, Tell us the answer to thy question. She replied, O Commander of the Faithful, the stars are divided into 3 parts, whereof 1/3 is hung in the sky of the earth, as it were lamps, to give light to the earth. And a part is used to shoot the demons withal when they draw near by stealth to listen to the talk in heaven. Quoth Allah Almighty, Verily, we have dight the sky of earth with the adornment of the stars, and have appointed them for projectiles against every rebellious Satan. And the 3rd part is hung in the air to illuminate the seas and give light to what is therein. Quoth the astronomer, I have one more question to ask, which if she answer, I will avow myself beaten. Say on, answered she. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 457th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the astronomer said, Now tell me what 4 contraries are based upon the other 4 contraries. Replied she, The 4 qualities of caloric and frigoric, humidity and siccity, for of heat Allah created fire, whose nature is hot-dry, of dryness earth, which is cold-dry, of cold water, which is cold-wet, of moisture air, which is hot-wet. Moreover, he created 12 signs of the zodiac, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, and appointed them in the 4 humors, 3 fiery, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, 3 earthy, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, 3 airy, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and 3 watery, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Hereupon the astronomer rose, and saying, Bear witness against me that she is more learned than I. And away he went, beaten. Then quoth the Caliph, Where is the philosopher? At which one rose hastily, and came forward, and said to Tawaddud, What is time, and what be its limit, and its days, and what thing bringeth it? Replied she, Time is a term applied to the hours of the night and day, which are but the measures of the courses of the sun and moon in their several heavens, even as Allah Almighty telleth us when he saith, Assigned to them also is the night from which we strip off the day, and lo, they are plunged in darkness, and the sun runneth to her place of rest. And this is the ordinance of the Sublime, the All-Knowing. How cometh unbelief to the son of Adam? It is reported of the apostle, whom Allah bless and preserve, that he said, Unbelief in a man runneth as the blood runneth in his veins, when he revileth the world, and the time, and night, and the hour. And again, Let none of you revile time, for time is God. Neither revile the world, for she saith, May Allah not aid him who revileth me. Neither revile the hour, for the hour is surely coming, there is no doubt thereof. Neither revile the earth, for it is important, according to the saying of the Most High. Out of the ground have we created you, and into the same will we cause you to return, and we will bring you forth yet thence another time. What are the 5 that ate and drank, yet came not out of loins nor womb? Adam, and Simon, and Saliah's she-camel, and Ishmael's ram, and the bird that Abu Bakr, the truth-teller, saw in the cave. Tell me of the 5 that are in paradise, and are neither humans, jinns, nor angels. Jacob's wolf, and the 7 sleepers' dogs, and Esdras' ass, and Saliah's camel, and Duldah, the mule of the prophet, upon whom all blessings and peace. What man prayed a prayer neither on earth nor in heaven? Solomon, when he prayed on his carpet borne by the wind. Read me this riddle. A man once looked at a handmaid during dawn prayer, and she was unlawful to him. But at noonday she became lawful to him. By mid-afternoon she was again unlawful, but at sundown she was lawful to him. At supper time she was a 3rd time unlawful, but by daybreak she became once more lawful to him. This was a man who looked at another's slave girl in the morning, and she was then unlawful to him. But at midday he bought her, and she became lawful to him. At mid-afternoon he freed her, and she became unlawful to him. But at sundown he married her, and she was again lawful to him. At nightfall he divorced her, and she was then a 3rd time unlawful to him. But next morning at daybreak he took her back, and she became once more lawful to him. Tell me, what tomb went about with him that lay buried therein? Jonah's whale, when it had swallowed him. What spot of lowland is it upon which the sun shone once, but will never again shine till judgment day? The bottom of the Red Sea, when Moses smote it with his staff, and the sea clave asunder in 12 places according to the number of the tribes. Then the sun shone on the bottom, and will do so nevermore until judgment day. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 458th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the philosopher then addressed the damsel, saying, What was the first skirt that trailed over the face of the earth? She replied, That of Hagar, out of shame before Sarah, and it become a custom among the Arabs. What is that which breatheth without life? Quoth Almighty Allah, By the morning when it breatheth. Read me this riddle. A number of pigeons came to a high tree, and lighted some on the tree, and others under it. Said those on the tree to those on the ground, If one of you come up to us, ye will be a 3rd part of all of us in number, and if one of us descend to you, we shall be like unto you in number. How many pigeons were there in all? 12. 7 alighted on the tree, and 5 beneath. And if one go up, those above would be 8 to 4. And if one go down, both would be 6. And Allah is all-knowing. With this, the philosopher put off his clothes and fled. Whereupon the next context took place, for she turned to the Olema present and said, Which of you is the rhetorician that can discourse of all arts and sciences? Then came forward a sage, hight Ibn bin Sayyar, and said to her, Think me not like the rest. Quoth she, It is the more assured to me that thou wilt be beaten, for that thou art a boaster, and Allah will help me to victory over thee, that I may strip thee of thy clothes. So, if thou sendest one to fetch thee wherewithal to cover thyself, 'twould be well for thee. Cried he, By Allah, I will assuredly conquer thee, and make thee a bywonder among the peoples, generation after generation. Rejoined she, Do penance in advance for thy broken oath. Then he asked, What 5 things did Allah create before he made man? And she answered, Water and earth, light and darkness, and the fruits of the earth. What did Allah create with the hand of omnipotence? The Arsh, throne of God, or the empyreal heaven, and the tree Tuba, and Adam and the Garden of Eden, Those Allah created with the hand of his omnipotence. But to all others created things he said, Be, and they were. Who is the father of all Islam? Muhammad, whom Allah bless and preserve. Who was the father of all Islam? Of Muhammad? Abraham, the friend of God. What is the faith of all Islam? The professing that there is no God but the God, and that Muhammad is the apostle of God. What is thy first and thy last? My first is man's seed in the shape of foul water, and my last filthy carrion. The first of me is dust, and the last of me is dust. Quoth the poet, Of dust was I created, and man did I become, in question ever ready, and I fluent in reply. Then I into the dust returned because of it again, for that in very deed of dust at first created was I. He continued, What thing was it whose first state was wood, and its last life? Moses' staff, when he cast it on the valley ground, and it became by permission of Allah a writhing serpent. What is the meaning of the word of the Lord, and I have other occasion for it? He, Moses, was wont to plant his staff in the ground, and it would flower and fruit and shade him from the heat and from the cold. Moreover, it would carry him when he was weary, and whilst he slept guard his sheep from lions and wild beasts. What woman was born of a man alone, and what man of a woman alone? Eve of Adam, and Jesus of Mary. Tell me of the four fires, what fire eateth and drinketh, and what fire eateth but drinketh not, what fire drinketh but eateth not, and what neither eateth nor drinketh. The fire of the world eateth but drinketh not. The fire which eateth and drinketh is hellfire. The fire of the sun drinketh but eateth not, and the fire of the moon neither eateth nor drinketh. Which is the open door, and which the shut? The traditional ordinances are the open door, and the Quranic the shut door. Of what doth the poet speak when he says, And dweller in the tomb, whose food is at his head, when he eateth of that meat of words he wacketh fain. He riseth and walketh, and he talketh without tongue, and returneth to the tomb where his kin and kith are lain. No living wight is he, yet in honour he abides, nor death, yet he deserveth that Allah him assain. She replied, The reed pen. Quoth he, What doth the poet refer to in these verses? Two vests in one, blood flowing easiest wise, rosy red ears, and mouth wide open lies. It hath a cock-like form, its belly pecks, and if you price it, half a dirham buys. She replied, The ink case. Quoth he, And in these, he say to men of wisdom, wit, and lore, to sapient, reverend, clever counsellor, tell me, what was you saw that bird bring, when wandering Arab land in Erjam o'er? No flesh it beareth, and it hath no blood, nor down, nor any feathers, e'en to wear. 'Tis eaten cooked, and eke 'tis eaten cold. 'Tis eaten buried neath the flames that roar. It showeth twofold colours, silver white, and yellow brighter than pure golden ore. 'Tis not seen living, or we count it dead. So read my riddle rich in marvel store. She replied, Thou makest longsome the questioning anent an egg worth a mite. And this, I waved to and fro, and he waved to and fro, with a motion so pleasant, now fast and now slow, and at last he sunk down on my bosom of snow. Your lover friend? No friend, my fan, she said. How many words did Allah speak to Moses? It is related of the apostle that he said, God spoke to Moses 1,515 words. Tell me of 14 things that speaketh to the Lord of the worlds. The 7 heavens and the 7 earths, and they say, We came obedient to thy command. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my tale for the day, until it be morrow.